The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
So, welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we spotlight industry leaders. My name's Karen Roberts, your host, and today we're thrilled to welcome Dan Teston. Is a native of Orlando with extensive experience in site development and construction. After 8 years in the industry, he transitioned into real estate, applying his strong work ethic and open communication style. So, he's known for his responsiveness and prioritizes his clients' needs, keeping them informed throughout the whole buying or selling process. So welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
So everybody, first of all, wants to know really about the inspiration. Like you spent 8 years working in site development and construction services before transitioning. So why? What inspired you to make the switch, and how has your previous experience shaped the way that you approach real estate today?
That's a pretty easy one. I was forced. That was the that was the economic downturn, and I use this information a lot, especially with people that always, in the business, or there's a bubble, it's going to break, and the prices are going to drop, and I use that site development background to give them a little bit of an education. And let me give you my quick story real fast. I'll try to make it short. But it's 8 years in the business. When they came to us, the market was booming here in Orlando, one of the busiest markets around the country, also one of the hardest hit with the economic downturn, just as easy. And when they came to us in 2007 and said, we're not building anymore, I said, what do you mean you're not building? I've got millions of dollars of equipment and machines and trucks and everybody that worked for me. I own the company. And they said, yeah, we're not working. Maybe 2010, 2011, 12, maybe might be the thing. We were the first ones. Meanwhile, houses were selling like hotcakes still at that time period. But the number one thing we saw back then was that all the builders told us that they, and myself included, I bought a home. They started off as, we're going to give you $30,000 off. And then it turned into, we're going to give you $60,000 off. And then some of them were even offering brand new cars and things. So when the builders offer those, they've got their fingers across the nation that says, hey, there's something happening across here that we're not able to control. Let's get rid of those properties. So they knew it way ahead of time. And then luckily I was able to get rid of and sell a lot of my equipment off and help soften the blow. And at that time, nobody hired anybody because I already owned my own company and they didn't want to take on somebody of that nature. Everybody was looking for a job. So I always loved real estate. I was building single family homes already, and it was an easy transition. I'm born and raised here in Central Florida. It's my own stomping ground. I know it very well. And then for the last 8 years, I've been building it. So I have that background on top of it. So it was great.
Wow. Isn't it funny?
It was a calling
against the wall.
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise, to be honest, because I really did find my niche. I really do enjoy and I love real estate. I loved what I did previously, but this was more icing on the cake for me. It was the overhead, the cost, the interaction with people on a day-to-day basis really does fill my cup at the end of the day.
Brilliant. So you're native of Orlando, so you have seen the whole city evolve over the years. So how has, I suppose, witnessing this growth firsthand, how has that influenced your real estate career and I suppose the way you serve your clients in the area?
I think just having your finger on the pulse, like most things in life, in general, just having that knowledge of where it's headed to, what's going on, where are we going to go, what's going to happen next. Like you said, I've seen it happen. I'm not a big proponent of tearing all the trees down. And it's funny that was my business that was in fact tearing the trees down. At the time, it was a great, but then I was like, I really do like all these big oaks. I wish they would keep some of these things. But that's just the nature of building and how the infrastructure has to be put into the ground, into everything. So you have to take those trees down. Luckily, they put them all back, and it takes you a good 20 years to get them back. But I do I can definitely see the growth, and I can definitely see where it's headed to, and just the patterns of people, what attracts them. There's always going to be a new it spot, a spot that people are like, oh, I got to live there. We've got the old places here in Central Florida, your winter parks, winter garden, places that have got a lot of clout behind them for, $1 million plus homes and just some cool areas in general. But then we've got new and upcoming like Lake Nona. That's probably one of our driving forces. That's a cutting edge and new design and new ideas that have been brought forward that say, hey, if you're going to build a community, this is what they need to look like. Now other communities are following suit and they're building them along that line as well. Built-in trails, commercial spaces built into the communities, so that you can, hop on a bike and ride down and grab an ice cream or get your nails
Brilliant.
done or grab a couple of quick things to eat. So definitely makes it nice.
Brilliant. Yeah, so the whole landscape is changing.
Yeah, it
So
is.
you hold this CDPE, Certified Distressed Property Expert designation. So that helps you, I suppose, well, it helps the homeowners, right? So through the difficult situations. But what is the motivation behind that to assist clients when they are in distress, I suppose? And do you have any memorable stories or a memorable experience where you made a real impact?
I think it happens a lot more than I can probably remember all the times, but I do, like going back to what I said earlier, I really do enjoy helping people. When the economic downturn happened, we pretty much lost everything, houses, cars, all the little fun things that you've, had and collected. Nobody saw that going to happen in that way. Once that happened to me, the CDPE stands for Certified Distressed Property Expert. That was a huge thing that was going on. Our market was flooded with short sales and foreclosures, and I just wanted to have a better knowledge of what that was so I could better service my clients. Having lived through it already, I knew the hard side of it, as far as what that nobody wants to have a conversation like, yes, I'm 2 years behind on payments. They're going to come collect my house any day. But having lived through that kind of portal, I could share my insight and then try to help people out, to best navigate that. It's a lot easier to go short sale and get a slap on the wrist than go to a full foreclosure where it's going to be 7 years roughly or more of a ding on your credit. So we use that education. Here locally, I don't see that probably coming back the same way. We have a lot more equity in our homes, that is built in versus what was happening back then. People were buying, homes with an ARM style mortgage that where those things came due, they didn't have the money to pay it, and at that point, that's where
Hmm.
those foreclosures, where we don't see that right now. We don't have those ARM, but I do carry some other designations. I carry a certified, I specialize in sellers predominantly these days. We're listing dominant, so we list a lot more homes than others. And then from that, I carry a pricing strategy advisor and a seller representative specialist, or a little bit more with today's market. I carry them all in general to help in any kind of aspect, but those are what is the driving force that I see in today's market versus the distressed property. It might
Right.
happen again, but not quite yet. We're not there yet.
Well,
There's too much equity.
so hopefully it's not
Yeah,
needed,
right.
right?
Hopefully. I'd hate
So,
to go back.
yeah, no, nobody wants to go back. So, communication is obviously key. Um, so how do you ensure that you maintain that high level of accessibility? I mean, I know realtors work very, very long hours, but do you think that's an important part in today's market?
It is, and I think it's always is. I think that what we've entered into is the Amazon world, the Netflix. I want it now person mentality. I don't, people say I want it now. I can have it Tuesday by 1 o'clock, and here we are, we're at 1:12. That's literally how it can be as far as with Amazon. And I think people have gotten accustomed to that style. And it's not, you don't have to necessarily run your business. And as I become, a little bit longer into this, I can kind of control what hours that I want to work. But I do find that it's people's single largest asset, whether they're buying or selling real estate in general. And what's going to come down to it is, like, if they're buying something at $500,000 or more dollars, they might get stressed. And if you can nip that early and try to keep them under control as far as, hey, this is not a big deal, we're going to get through this, or congratulations, this is all happening. It goes both ways, that you can really bring some peace to your transaction and peace to those that are around you, which makes the experience pleasant. And what happens then, they give you a great review, and that trickles down to a referral to other people saying, yeah, they got me through one of the craziest times possible. So I do find that being that way, it does help. It's not always perfect, but in real estate, everybody knows there's no set hours. There's no 9 to 5. You might work late one night at 9, 10, 12 o'clock at night, and other days it might be a Wednesday afternoon and you don't have a single phone call, and that kind of becomes your day off at that point in time. So
Mm,
just the way you have to approach it and look at it, it's tough for many to get into the field just for that idea that
yeah,
it isn't
sure.
9 to 5. Yeah, it's there's
Mm.
no one coming to check on you. Hey, did you get your things done? Or did you brush your teeth? Did you comb your hair? Are you ready to start?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you still need the work-life balance, though, right? You've got,
You
yes, you've
do.
got to be accessible, but at the same time, I would have thought you need to set some kind of boundaries.
You
Um,
do. You do. It's tough, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
my wife, she joined me for years. She complained, and when she quit her job and joined me about 8 years ago now, that she does it too. So now we're both in it. So but
Ah,
real estate's flexible. There are times I got to take those hard-hitting phone calls, and I got to step away. Everybody knows when I start doing I'm on the phone, that they all know what's happening. But yeah, there is you do have to have that work-life balance for sure.
right. And so where you are, share with the listeners, how have things been going? What sort of how many transactions do you tend to deal with, say, in a year?
Yeah. So I mean, it's ever evolving for sure, and the market's always changing. We call them seasons a lot. At least I do. I call them seasons. We're in an interesting season right now. It wasn't so long ago that just like in that 04, 05 building peak, when the
Hmm.
market was going crazy, you just threw a sign in the yard and the thing sold itself. Well, now we're down. You got to do a little more work and be a little more patient with it, just the same way. It's the market is definitely different than what we've been used to in the last year, but I think that it's always going to smooth its way out. We're in an election year. It gets a little slow these times, especially this time of year. We don't have a season in Florida. There's no snow, there's no thing, but we do see a slowdown between Thanksgiving and Christmas, Thanksgiving to New Year's, and then it picks right back up again right after that. A lot of people love it, our taxes, our weather, they all want a piece of that. And I think that you'll continue to see them come down this direction. Ultimately, we do well. Ideally, I think we close somewhere between right around 40 to 50 properties a year, maybe to 60 on other
Wow.
years. In general, it's just my wife and I. We're a husband-wife team. And, with our company, we are considered what they call icon agents as well with EXP. And we're getting ready to hit our sixth icon, which is a certain level of production
Ah,
level as well. We're about two transactions away from hitting our sixth icon award, being with
brilliant.
EXP. And
Oh, that's
it's been great.
amazing. Congratulations. Wow, I mean,
Thank
yes,
you.
that's going some. So what's
Mhm.
next then for you two? What are your goals for next year?
I think we have one Airbnb now, and I think that we'll be a little bit more tied into the investment aspects of it. But I think we're always growing our group and our team. We've got some great agents that are showing some great signs as far as picking up the ball and running with it, like I like to say. I come from a football background, so it's nice to see someone got a little bit of grit, things like that. We don't see that much these days. So the people that want to work and show up, we pour into them. We pour into them as much as we can and try to grow them up and grow along with us. But we're just going to keep our head down and keep plugging away like we always do. We're really tied into our community. We're really tied in. We've got 4 daughters. Three of them right now are currently in the school systems. As far as we're big into those PTAs, sporting, and all that. So we just try to be available, be the resource for everybody, today. And a great way to look at the resource aspect, which we could go on to a whole entire tangent. I've done this really good in my community. I live in a very large community as well here in East Orlando, and I've always made myself, just anything. The AC breaks, something happens. I got a message today from one of our constituents here in the community that asked what was the closest funeral home as they had a death in the family. I mean, something I don't stress on. I don't share it, but it's a matter of always being that person to answer those questions and just be there for them. And and granted, that's not always the best, but these things happen in life. But it's just a matter of how they still come to me and they're going to ask me,
Yes.
where would you go? So
Yeah.
I do
You're
like
showing
that.
up to serve. You're showing up to
Correct.
serve. Brilliant.
Yeah, relationships
So
is in everything in this business.
yeah, well,
So
it's all the whole thing, isn't it? It's all about building relationships. And yeah, because in your community, because who's going to be talking when people are talking about buying or selling? They are going to be potential referral partners. So
absolutely.
awesome. So, our last question is always the same because here at Icons, we are the number one real estate podcast network, and our passion is about making podcasting accessible to anybody in the real estate business. So, our last question to you is if you had your own podcast, what would you call it?
That is a tough one. I would probably say grit it done. Kind of like get it done,
Grit
a little
it
play. Grit it.
done.
We have a
Yeah.
huge saying we like to say a lot, and it's grit. Those that have the grit can get out there
Right.
and get it. They will grit it out. They will just head down,
Love
hunker
that.
down, keep pushing forward. It's going to be a different season. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. The wind will
Brilliant.
always change direction, so just hang tight.
Love that. Fantastic. So, finally, if the listeners are out there, I mean, I don't know, are you looking to grow your team as well, or
We always are. We're really big here in Central Florida. I'm always looking to grow. We're looking for some key agents, things, people that have the same mindset and that we have that we run currently. So we're always looking for agents that want to share on that. I'm an open book. Anybody that wants to see what it is that I do, I show it gladly and freely. We don't have the same clients, people, or circles that we travel in. You want to know what it is that I do or how we're successful, I'll show you. But yeah, we'd love to see you. If anybody wants to come aboard, we'd take them in a heartbeat.
fantastic. So how would they reach you? How would they get in touch with you?
I'm accessible everywhere. You can Google my name, of course, and it'll probably find me. But obviously, our website at the testonteam.com. Teston is my last name, Teston team.com. And also my direct line at 407-509-0211. Same number I've had for over 20 years, 30 years maybe now. So highly accessible, maybe too accessible as we talked about earlier. You call me, I will answer the phone. I will text you back.
Ah, brilliant. Well, thank you, Dan, for your time today. It's been great talking to you. And well, to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate podcast. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.